knows a lot," said Charlie, pushing his glasses up his nose. "He's an engineer." The canopy of wild oak and elm above was broken where we had stopped, and the heat immediately ate into my skin in a way that made me feel immortal. Shell took my hand and led me further into the opening, away from the argument. She lifted her face towards the blazing sun and squeezed my fingers. I took it as a warning not to get involved. "Your dad's a mechanic." Gray looked at me to back him up, but I decided to heed Shell's warning. "It's the same thing," argued Charlie. "No, it ain't. Engineers build rockets and figure out how things work and then make things work better. Your dad mends cars. He couldn't have sent Neil Armstrong to the moon." Charlie didn't respond. He knew when to back off. Gray, on the other hand, did not, even when he was winning. "What do you reckon, Sammy?" "About what?" I asked, as though I hadn't been listening to them for the past 5 minutes. "About whether Charlie's dad's an engineer." "I don't," I began, but Gray was on a roll. "I mean, engineers are, well, they're cleverer. They use their brains. Mechanics use their hands." He turned back to Charlie, who appeared to have lost all interest in the conversation. "You hear me, Charlie? Charlie!" "Leave him," said Shell. We all stared at her. She appeared to be focusing on a point way out in the distance, as though she could look through what was really there and see something else that the rest of us could not. Which, after all, could never be true. She couldn't see anything. Not with her eyes. She never had and never would. Gray gave me his famous, "What have I done now?" look, threw his stick into the wood and stomped off. Shell tapped my ankle gently with her white cane and gave my arm another squeeze. "Let's go, Charlie," I said, and we set off once more down the dusty dirt path that would lead us to the river, where we would swim, share the sweets we had pitched together for, and, if we were lucky, find a few small trout and eels hiding below the speckled pebbles. "I suppose nobody knows everything," conceded Charlie. "Turd," said Gray from up ahead. "Heard that," said Shell. 2. The path to the river led past the Old Quarry. I couldn't tell you what they used to quarry there. I'd never heard tell of even a handful of soil being removed from its water-filled carcass. Around most of the perimeter, towering spruce and fir trees gathered, some of them close enough to the edge to give squirrels vertigo. A good number of their neighbours had disappeared over the rim, tumbling like giant jugglers' dropped batons into the trapped water below. The east and west sides sloped away to the south, so that the far face of the forest was closer to the surface of the water by about 30 feet. But there was still a sheer drop of 100 feet or so. It was a part of childhood training in these parts to be warned to stay away from the edge of the Old Quarry. Parents constantly reminded us of the dangers of mixing gravity with carelessness. We came out of the wood into the clearing, where nothing seemed to grow. It was odd. Trees could be seen all around the quarry, right up to the edge. But here, on the very north side, there was nothing. Just dry, cracked earth and hard rocks. Somewhere, a wood pigeon took its leave of a tree with a flutter and a coo. "You think anybody could climb down there?" asked Charlie. He was squinting into the distance, standing about 10 feet from the edge. Most of the sides were sheer drops, but here and there were small ledges jutted out like mutant teeth. "Easier than climbing up it," I said, walking past him so that I could just peer over. I couldn't help but turn to check that Shell was staying a safe distance away from the drop. Charlie unscrewed the top of his shiny water bottle and took a drink. "I could do it," said Gray, strolling up beside me. I had a sudden fear that he was going to do the "gotcha" trick, pretending to push me over the edge. I took a step back and turned to face him. Part of me knew where this was going. Gray was a natural tree climber, seemingly born without the fear gene. About 2 years before, he had scaled the outside of Mrs. Sullivan's house, using only the drain pipe, the mortar between the bricks, and the smallest of geometrical